Hey everyone, according to linear time and the calendar on my computer, it is January 2nd, 2026 at 10 a.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, which seems to indicate we have come together to spend 75 minutes with Paul Selig, the guides, and the book Resurrection. And has been the habit. We'll begin with a clip, conversation, and then we'll go into the reading and the share. So let's do this thing. It's good to have you here, Patricia. Do you want me to put you on the list of readers? All right, we got 5 readers. I'm excited. Here we go. Oh, that should take us to whatever. Share. Whoops. Hold on. There it is. Seemed that Paul Selig wanted to be David Gian wanted to be played instead of Paul Selig, but I got that corrected. Here we go.
Imagine you are driving in a foggy field, and the foggy field precludes you from seeing what expresses beyond it, and perhaps the light that you hold illumines the common field, the foggy pasture, up to a point, but you cannot see much beyond it. This is the reality that you navigate in, and thought itself, while pervasive, is still supported through the fog, or the density of what you are allowed or able or even willing to perceive. The fog is lifted in the upper room, and you become, in most ways, we have to say most, clear conduits of source. The challenges still are born in old expectation, 1, and the manifestation of form within an agreed octave, 2. Now, the idea that you are operating in an agreed upon octave inclusive of body must be understood as the residual affect of past choice. But what you do not yet fully see is that even the bodies you have taken and the forms that you know yourself in and through, and then, underline then, the forms that surround you as landscape, can and must be lifted as part of this exchange or transposition. The manifestation of the divine as form, underline as, is in all ways the process of reintegrating, reclaiming what is of God in terms of what it can be known as with and through, in exchange for what has been withheld or known in density. So everything created in that foggy field, that foggy pasture, every thought, every idea claimed, is still moving through the density of that fog. Once you have begun, underline begun, this process of exchange to the higher, what operates in the common field can be reknown in the upper room, because the fog is not present. And once the fog is not present, thought itself moves to a level of refinement, and consequently the idea of manifestation is, we would suggest, quickened or moved to a level of rapidity that is actually not known in the lower field. This does not mean you think of the house you wish to buy and suddenly the deed is in your hand and you are walking through the front door. It does mean that the issues that have precluded manifestation are not present because fear is not active, and fear is the low tone or the dark symphony that would preclude manifestation. Realization comes, as we say, at the cost of the old, and to realize is to know, and to know the divine is to realize the divine, and to be in the divine is to claim the divine as environment, or perhaps the high field. Now, if you decide that God is only in the high field or the upper room, you have confused this instruction, because the realization of the divine in the foggy pasture is required. Your realization of the divine in the foggy pasture is most effective from the upper room, because the lenses of your own spectacles are not diminished, are not operating in the field of separation, are not being colored or misguided by fear, presupposition, fear, expectation of what was, fear, the old menu or litany of choices, fear. Realization at this level claims the manifest field, or what you experience yourself in, as all things. Underline all, capitalize all, which means in this situation, of God. I am in God, environment. I am of God, expressed as also as this field, and I am with God, operating in awareness in tandem and congruence, expression as knowing. When we invite you to the higher plateau of alignment, we are not suggesting that there are not other ways to attend to this potential. You may know yourself in God without ever hearing a word that we utter. You may know yourself of God without having ever read a text. You may know yourself with God through prayer of any kind, as long as you indeed are receptive to the communion that is brought through it. But the realization that we offer instrumentally in the increments that you can receive them in actually holds a systemic way of claiming and knowing the self. Now, what systemic means in this case is it is somewhat formulaic. And the formulaic aspect of the instruction is that every note that is played through the attunements we offer you, once invoked, are consequently playing in the energetic field. And it is the accumulation of the higher tonality that lifts you to the upper room, and then the realization of what can be agreed upon there. Can be agreed upon seems to imply still that you are in choice and that you have free will, and indeed this is so. It is not left behind in the low field, but it must also become acclimated to the higher, unless you wish to continue to invoke the old, through choice, through expectation, through what you have known. I am in the upper room, but I really can't stand my mother, and I hope she never visits me here, back downstairs. Now realize that you don't have to hold your mother in the light in a pious way. You may hold your feelings about your mother, but you may indeed translate them as well to operate in the higher field, so that you are not acting upon them in low field ways. And what that means is, I'm not inviting her for Christmas. I am not telling my sisters that she is coming. I am doing what I want in my way. Now, you may authorize these choices and you may learn through them, because you continue to learn from the upper room. And if indeed there are lessons that you are required to learn through, you will claim them and they will come, but you must agree to them at the level of tone that they were invoked through. We have said through Paul prior that you may be in the upper room and be having a difficult day. You may be in the upper room and feel badly about a choice. You may be in the upper room and wish the phone wouldn't ring because you don't want to speak to who is on the other end. You are still present for your experiences in your human nature.
Okay. Um, be- Diane's here. Woo! Very cool. All right. Before I open it up for the conversation and the reading from others, because I've been sitting with this paragraph that I stated, here's a lot of confusion where we ended last week. Let's start there. I read it, I sat with it. There was clarity. And then this clip, which in my world just got issued yesterday, took this paragraph to even a deeper level. So I'd love to read this paragraph, open up for a conversation about the clip, and then we'll officially begin. I almost asked for permission, but that's the guidance, so I withdraw asking for permission. Um, but remember what he said about fogginess and the spectacles and prayer? Yeah. Now, here's the paragraph that a number of us, Alka and I specifically, claimed confusion about. Now, please don't think this makes you wrong. Imagine you learned a language in school, became fluent in it. That is the language that's now spoken in your household, and it has become the norm. The language of separation in density, which is the fog, became the common tongue. Everything is indeed spoken into being, and thought is the catalyst for most manifestation. In other words, the small self has mostly free will, but not complete free will. That's the part that there's chills here, right? The part that is hiding in density is not completely independent, even if it thinks it can completely fuck up its life over and over again. It's not the truth. Everything is indeed spoken into being, and thought is the catalyst for most manifestation. But there are other causes through collective need. You believe that a prayer from the heart may be met by grace with very good reason. The prayer of the heart is the prayer that comes from the risen Christ, the monad, the higher self. The echo of the heart claims itself through the manifest destiny to the higher octave. So no matter how much we think we're fuck ups and we'll never get it and we're small and we're separate, it's not true, and we've never been abandoned. The monad, the risen Christ, that the divine spark that is forever in our heart echoes into the manifest world, no matter how insane or crazy it is. And prayer has long been the primary vehicle for this intercession. It's the bridge. Not because the prayer is necessary, but because the act of prayer itself moves you to reconciliation. So no matter how small we feel in the moment, when we stop and do our version of, Dear God, I can't do this without you, we've opened the door. And then the work happens. But all the prayer's really doing is, acknowledging and opening the door to what's always here. And prayer has long been the primary vehicle for intercession, not because the prayer is necessary, but because the act of prayer itself moves you to reconciliation. And in this clip, that's what the guides were pointing to with the attunements. Every time we sit and we connect with the attunements, we're opening the door, the channel. We're allowing the higher to bring the lower up. The denial of the divine would claim you without prayer. The denial of the divine, what you hold in shadow, calls you to it, would have you believe the door is closed. And you are responsible 100% for the insanity you find yourself in. So that's that's just what happened here in the last 20 minutes in reading this paragraph that we claimed confusion on, and then being with that clip for the first time this morning, though I was with the channeled work, it's in the library, and then watching myself speak it out. And so, yeah, anybody want to say or share anything about any of that, Alka?
The last sentence, the denial of the divine would claim you without prayer. I'm a bit confused about that. Does that mean that even, I don't know, denial of the divine brings us into shadow? Can we get there without prayer or in spite of prayer? What exactly does he mean by that? I'm not very clear. I understand the rest of the paragraph, but this one really confused me, the last sentence. What does he
Well,
mean?
what do you believe prayer to be then? What's your definition of prayer?
For me, it's just talking to God. That's prayer. But then, you see, I've never ever believed anything else but that everything is divine. So,
So perhaps this is confusing for you just because what's being pointed to is something other than what Alka's experience has been. Maybe it's confusing for you because it's so obvious you're looking for something that's not there because it's always been there.
thank you. That actually makes it clear. Yes. Thanks. Because, yeah, that's what was confusing me last time, too. What does he mean? Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share anything about, hey, Rick?
Been on mute for a minute there. I have a question, I think more. So is another way is that we are the prayer?
What came up to me, um, be very careful. Tears just rolled up. The way I won't want to respond to that is to say that Cindy is the wave, I am the ocean. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
And there's chills, like all the hair on my arm is standing up.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, Alka, unless does anyone who's on my list of readers have to leave early?
I just need to know the first paragraph because I'm using Kindle.
Right. Okay. Well, the first person on my list to read is Alka, and she will start with the words, now are all prayers answered. So let us know, Rick, if you've got yourself, if you know where we are. It's on page 88 in the heart here.
On my Kindle, it's page 86.
You're muted, Rick, so we don't know if you're.
I'll find
On
it.
mine, it's on 87. The weird thing about the Kindle is you have to make the page hit the pages to make them go small to really see the actual page numbers.
Yes. Okay. I think I
Okay,
got it. I
good.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you very
Good.
much.
All right, Alka.
Okay, now, are all prayers answered? No, not as you wish. The small self has its requirements. Give me what I want. I want it now. Perhaps you may succeed at that level, but the teaching you will receive about manifestation is the challenge you face when you get what you think you want, because the true self knows any prayer from the heart which claims the true self as its presence cannot be in denial of the divine. Paul interrupts the teaching. Are the claims affirmations you've given us? Excuse me.
We're just, are you back?
Paul interrupts the teaching. Are the claims and affirmations you've given us, or the attunements, prayers in themselves? Not as you think. The vibration of each claim is in energetic code, which translates the intent to and out picturing in the energetic field. In other words, the equation to the higher alignment is present in the claim and indeed in the attunements, which is why the energetic bodies are in escalation every time they are invoked. That's interesting. When one is in prayer, one is in an awareness of unification, because the act of prayer itself confirms the omnipresence of the divine, even when the one praying feels bereft and alone. It is the act of agreement to God that makes prayer profoundly successful as the intercessor between dimensional realms.
Hair's still standing up on my arms.
Wow.
What is it that you feel to say about this, Elka?
I've always sent off prayers to God, doesn't matter what it is, but I never thought that it was, what is it? When one is in prayer, one is in an awareness of unification, because the act of prayer itself confirms the omnipresence of the divine. I never thought about it so deeply. I still thought of when I sent a prayer of somebody out there, but he makes it sound as something in here. That's what it said to me. So when I'm praying, I'm talking to someone, not someone, I don't know, someone who's not different from me. I don't know if that makes sense. That's what it said to me.
I have a specific example I'd like to share. I'm very moved by this sentence. Because the true self knows any prayer from the heart which claims the true self as its presence cannot be in denial of the divine. And the denial of the divine is separation and fear. Yesterday morning, I spoke about it, I think, yesterday in these rooms. I don't know, maybe I did. But it came to me, this invitation to communicate appreciation and love to certain characters in my dream, Richard, beings who have been a part of my story, who maybe I still have a story about. And there are actually four people, um, but one of them just kept showing up yesterday, and I realized that every time I thought about sending her a text message and saying thank you for being with something a bit more intimate, um, like this feeling came up and I couldn't do it. There was this belief that she had hurt me. She had yelled at me. Her very being is in opposition. I didn't go much further. I just couldn't um, with authenticity, send her a message that essentially said, nothing but love here for you, and thank you for all the ways you touched my life. Right. And so I took that into this space. I took responsibility. The guides indicate, and so does the course, say everything's here, right? So in seeing that, I knew it had nothing to do with her. She wasn't walking around thinking about me. Like we're not in that kind of world. So I took responsibility. I saw it over and over and over again. Here is a place that in Cindy, there's a denial of the divine, hence separation. And there was also this feeling if I appreciate her and love her, somehow it made me smaller. I saw that too in the last couple of days. Like it's just the way it felt. Um, and I kept coming back to it. And at some point this morning, I heard like almost like a mantra, I am, and then her name. I am, and then her name. I like it came, and I realized that any type of condemnation towards another was a condemnation towards self because there's only the one self. And then something sort of just dissolved. And during the writing part of Adiah this morning, I just sent her the most beautiful message of love and appreciation for all the ways she shows up in the world. And she immediately responded, and it was done. Um, but if I'm holding a denial of the divine anywhere in here, towards anything or anyone, then I can't then the prayer of the heart, it's not a prayer of the heart. It's a prayer of the small self, which isn't always going to be answered because the small self is in the lower room looking to change the curtains on the Titanic, right? So that's
Yes, I normally go at it if I'm unable to sit with it. I pray to the divine, show me how not to be identified with my body. And I keep asking and I keep asking and I keep asking till I start to see things differently. Helps. Just keep asking. I'm
yeah.
identifying with my body. Show me how not to do that. So yes,
When I
lot of
get
work.
that,
Sorry.
sorry, when I get that immediate desire to respond, that's my cue. And my prayer is always help me to be still so that I can see and hear. Because whatever it is I'm responding to has me fired up, and I can't see and hear at that moment. So I have to at least stay still and quiet enough for the fire to calm so that I can see and hear what's really going on. And this last year has been lesson after lesson in that. Sometimes months later, something will happen and I'll realize, oh my God, if I had sent that letter, I wrote the letter. If I had sent the letter, how different things would be than they are in this moment where I can just love and appreciate the speed. So my prayer very often is for stillness and an assistance in just being still so that I can witness.
Beautiful. Feels like there are 8 billion human beings. There's probably 8 billion ways of stepping into this space. Yeah. Anybody else want to talk about how this pointing is alive in them or anything else about this? Shall we move on then? Lonnie, you ready to read?
It's now are your prayers answered in the upper room, correct?
Now, yes, yes, yes.
Now, are your prayers answered in the upper room? The answer would be not as you think. It is not the place to get what you want. It is the place to receive what you require. And what you require of the kingdom. If you could imagine for a moment living in a state where your true requirements are met by you without asking, and certainly without demanding, you would begin to have an understanding of what this level of manifestation is. Now, the idea that you should ask is somewhat misguided. It presumes that the divine has no it presumes that the divine has no idea of what you require, does not know the secrets of your heart. However, to say, I am ready to receive, to confirm your availability to be in receipt of the divine, as may be made manifest in a real need, is in agreement with truth. In agreement with truth. I am ready indeed, because the aspect that says I am ready is the aspect that knows. I'm having such a living experience of this right now with the person that I'm walking with for these 3 days. And it's interesting because everything that I'm working with her on is that what I'm working with this being that I exist as on to. And there was this statement made yesterday. When I do these 3 day long intensives with people, we might be in the jacuzzi working, we might be any place working. And we were sitting in the jacuzzi yesterday, and she was talking about her desires as though they were secrets. And I was like, who are you keeping it a secret from? Because the one place where there is no secret is with you and whatever that is that created you. And she was realizing, oh, I'm talking as if God can't hear me, as if this is the secret I can keep there. And so for me, this paragraph really speaks to the fact that I can never even being allowed to say anything else, that there is no time in this current existence for this being. I can't even get it out. Since the moment that we went into full agreement, there's no time that we're able to say that God is not present and active, and then being able to feel that. And I understand, and as I'm saying this, what I just said is there's no secret. God knows whatever it is, even in the secret of the heart is spoken. That's already known. But to, in the being, as the being, speak it out loud and claim it, that's what seals the pact. That's what seals it. And I have this awareness that once that yes is said, I might want to take it back 1,000 times, but there's no takebacks, there's no U-turns on this road. It just keeps rolling forward, and we just keep continuing to choose how we ride it. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about, which carried over from the last, is prayer. And this agreement that I had made at some point with life, that it was not okay to talk about what was hoped for, because God would make sure it wouldn't happen. And what I learned was I was praying down the wrong well looking for water, that I was asking for the wrong things, and not things that were not possible in the divine, but things that I already had. And I just hadn't learned how to connect with and how to utilize. And so prayer really did shift from asking for what I thought I didn't have to really just being, thank you so much for the chance to do this and have this and be this. And then anytime I'm in the asking, it's always about helping me to be more deeply connected so that I can see and hear clearly. I guess I'll stop.
Thank you. So I'm inspired to say, hey, Diane. Hey, Diane, what about this paragraph reminds you of Joel Goldsmith, other than everything? But Diane and I spend and Sherry started and Rana, but I don't know if Rana can talk, but Diane, we don't get to hear from Diane very often. Um, but does this not, do you agree that everything about this paragraph is Joel Goldsmith?
Yeah, it's all about the prayer, about the just praying for what is, being with what is. And yeah, it's all different voices saying the same thing, which I find great.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from Joel, I think, is the line from the Bible, seek ye first the gifts, the keys to the kingdom, or seek ye first the kingdom, and then all else will be added on to you. And for me, that's this paragraph, is this everything about what I'm hearing here is reminding me, oh, I am God. And everything that is God is available to me now. So the moment I ask for something, what I'm essentially saying is I'm something other than what I am, as opposed to opening up to receive everything that the kingdom has to offer through this wave.
Yeah, God's grace is my sufficiency in all things.
Yeah.
The other thing that's been coming through for me too is the whole thing of asking for something prior to being standing in gratitude for what is already there. There's that was another theme of this work this week with this person is until there can be gratitude for all that's already there, how can you even consider that move to the next? Because what do you build on? Air?
Kind of like air, it's always available.
And air too is God.
Would anybody else like to share about this paragraph? As I hand things over to Pat. You ready, Pat? You'll have to unmute though if you want us to hear you.
There we are. There we are. What about supplication? He asks. Dear God, help me. We have all prayed that way. Those prayers are heard, but the level of intercession you seek may not always be in alignment with the requirements of an individual. Dear God, save my marriage. Let my child be well. Let the bank account be replenished. Let me maintain my idea of who I am in a community that now scorns me. You all understand these prayers, but in each case, the prayer is being asked to create an agreement to a status quo or a sense of being that may no longer be the requirement of the soul. You may learn through an illness, you may likely benefit from the divorce, and perhaps it is time for the child to release the body and learn in a different plane. You think things should be as you wish. Now, when we say divine will is available to you in your knowing, we are not suggesting that there is no desire in the heart. And in cases we have spoken of in prior texts, it is the divine itself that has claimed the desire in the heart. O God, let me know you as I may be known, and as you may know me. That is the divine as you in its agreement to God. Dear God, let me know my true work, so I may be of service. May be a true claim if it is said in earnest, but it is often the egoic structure suggesting that it would be happy if it were doing what it wanted. And please, God, confirm what I want. You may do as you wish here. This is the life you have chosen to learn through. The divine expressed in manifestation as and through you does not decide that you are no longer here to learn. Indeed, the learning continues.
Continues throughout our life, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I've just learned is even when I'm in acceptance doesn't mean my heart doesn't crack open. This is something I've learned recently. I can see so clearly that this is meant to happen, and yet it cracks my heart open nevertheless. I didn't know two things were possible together.
Mm.
But yeah, there it is.
Well, and that's why I laughed when it said whatever it's saying. Okay, it would be happy if it were doing what it wants. The egoic structure suggesting that it would be happy if it was doing what it wanted, and please God confirm what I want. I think that's pretty funny. Because I really am very fond of the idea of not knowing anything. I don't know my best interests.
Yeah, it's bringing me back to what's been occurring in this invitation to express appreciation for these so-called others that have seemingly created so much chaos and conflict here. Um, Going through these, looking at the stories and realizing if all the ways that I continually just state, well, they're not me and they're doing it wrong. And because they did this, I suffered. And what do you mean they don't exist? Watching, and again, not in a big way. It could be what Alka said, how can I hold these two things at once? There's been some of that happening here too. When I'm sitting here going, I'm holding a story of an other while I'm sitting and teaching and sharing hours a day that there are no others. And I'm saying yes to the guides and the course and everyone else who says in the moment that I decide differently, I can be only love, but I don't want to love that one. I literally went through a number of hours of thinking that it was wrong, of feeling the energy of how it would hurt me. It would hurt me to just be unconditional love towards this other because. And it took quite a bit of sitting still. I'm pointing at Lonnie, sitting still and seeing it before the laughter bubbled at how ridiculous that that whole thing was, and then watching it crack and watching an activity in the world. And I could already feel that it's not completely over, but it's sort of kind of completely over. It's really just cleanup in that story. But there are a number of other stories, and hopefully it'll get easier each time. But I could see that the lower self's desire to say the way I do it is right, which means the way you're doing it is wrong, and how that just doesn't sit in the teaching that God is never right and wrong. God is.
Mhm. I had a learning experience recently, and it just confirmed how clear the course is. That I have this friend, have had her a friend for many years, and she is a devout Trumpster. And it's a big challenge. We didn't speak to each other for 4 years. And God brought us together, and basically we have this agreement that we don't talk about it. Don't talk about that at all when we're together. We do love each other, but this is a big wall for me. And so one thing we do together is go to the movies together. And she emailed me and said, how would you like to go see Wicked together, the new Wicked? And so I didn't answer for 2 days. And during those 2 days, I went to see the movie with another friend of mine that I like better because she hates Trump too. So, so I go to the movies, and then I answered her, and I said, "Sorry, I already saw that." And that was, I had guilt for lying. And then I projected my guilt onto her. And then I said, she doesn't like me anymore, and she's not going to contact me anymore. So she didn't contact me for quite a while, but I did send her a Christmas card, and she wrote back, and it was most loving. Oh, I've been so busy, and it's so great. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, and all these hearts and stuff. And I'm going, whoa, is that so clearly projection of my guilt onto her that now she's angry at me? I was like, it couldn't be a better lesson. And in fact, the fact that we won't talk about that when we're together is interesting because that gives us so much more to talk about other things. There's a whole world of things to talk about besides that. And but I still have this thing in me, like I want to prove her wrong. I want to prove her wrong. It's just and I let it go daily, and I'm still haven't let it go completely. I'm still letting it go.
Until it's gone.
Mm.
Yeah. Should we let William talk?
Please.
Hey, William, happy Friday.
Well, I gotta say a couple things first. I just love how honest you are, Pat. It's like you don't have any secrets. And it's like talking about keeping secrets from the divine or God or whatever. And then Lonnie, I love that because that's a lot easier for me to just shut up and listen and listen and listen. But what I want to say is that lesson number 5 and 24. Sometimes just so simple. I do not perceive my own best interest. I'm never upset for the reason I think. It's like somehow that's a sandwich. It just puts me right in the middle of truth. That truth shall set you free. So all that's kind of reverberating. I don't know if I even believe in prayer. I didn't think my father always was praying. I never had that connection. I didn't know where he would, but now I see it. It's like knowing something that I guess, see, now it's claiming what I did know way back yonder. And now I'm just kind of Johnny come lately. I'm kind of claiming, I'm giving myself permission to just claim what's really true. Thy truth, thy will be done. All these things. It's just like a jackhammer into my heart. So, and when I lost my son, boy, talk about my heart being split wide open. Yeah, but I think I'm just still reaping the benefits of that open heart because that was such a traumatic thing. I made it traumatic even more because I was perceiving my best interest instead of, wow, just residing in the love, that tremendous grieving that I did. Anyway, I'm just ready to move on, but I had to say those 2 things I heard today. No secrets, huh? I play hide and seek my whole life. Maybe I'm ready to come out. Thank you.
Thank you. Lonnie.
Wow, this paragraph really, it took me to a place. It took me to a memory of that cry out to God to please help me. And it was walking with my mother at a time when her brain was not functioning well. And I was so scared until all I could go into was anger and frustration. And nothing was changing. None of that was changing anything. I have to say that Ailani really wants to apologize for these tears, but the rest of me is saying, fuck that shit. And that's exactly how it's being said. You don't apologize for these tears. They're important. Fuck that shit. And when But what I'm stuck, not even stuck in, because this is so fucking horribly beautiful, is when the cry finally came of God, please help me. What a release came with it from what felt like being bound in prison to collapse into that, please help me, and into the allowance of whatever the fuck it was going to look like. I was open to and welcoming it. And it was really, I can say, the first time I've ever said that I felt it answered because my struggle was immediately released. And it wasn't about my mom at all. It was 100%. And I think whoever spoke before, William maybe, who spoke before me, it was 100% about what I wanted her to be versus being able to just be with what she was in the moment. So, God, please help me. It's one thing to say it, and it's such a awakening of the release of the energy it takes not to ask. The energy it takes not to ask, and the freeing of the energy that occurs in the asking and in the accepting or the receiving. Yeah, this paragraph got me.
Thank you. Shall we keep going? It's Rick's turn.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the, I'm at what about supplication?
Nope.
No, one below.
The agreement we make to you
Okay,
tonight is that.
perfect. All right, thank you. Hey, everyone, Rick, good to be here. The agreement we make to you tonight is that at the level of truth, you will be met each step of the way. And what this means is a true need will be met in the upper room. However, your compliance to the circumstances of change that may need to be rendered for a prayer to be answered must be permitted by you. Dear God, give me what I want, but don't take that away from me. But don't take that away from me. Dear God, do as I say, but don't touch my bank account. Let me be of service, but please let me have to sit down to do it. Oh, sorry, that's me. I am old and have poor feet. Your decision about how a prayer should be answered is generally the egoic structure making a demand in out picture. But to support the divine, thy will be done, or even better, we are one. Let this be done in the highest way. Will support the application to the circumstances that are required for prayer to be met. Should I continue?
Well, is there anything you would like to share about?
Well, I think, there's this thinker that is constantly liking to think. And, you know, I not only have preconceived ideas about other people, but I have preconceived ideas of who I and what I am. And as a result of that, um, I have made bad decisions based on that identification. The divinity of what is being shared here and what it is that I'm taught that I am, that I'm coming to believe, that I'm becoming to know, um, changes all that, changes all of it. This new seat assignment that I'm taking allows new possibilities that, I don't know what I don't know, but there's a knowing. That uh, just being allowed or allowing, there it is. It's the allowing, this awareness. I sit here and I'm aware of looking at you right now, Cindy, because you're the profile image. And I get to see this and experience this, not in a dream state, not in a I'm falling asleep state, but in this present moment. Is new, you know. Yeah, it's a nice new seat assignment. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. I got chills again and almost started crying when you started reading this paragraph. This first line, the agreement we make to you tonight is that at the level of truth, you will be met every step of the way. Lonnie's story just exploded inside of me, right? When we sit here and say, I'm done. As a small self, I'm just friggin' done. So I give it to you. Help now, please. In all the different versions. I don't know if Rana can unmute. Like I got Rana. I got a story from Rana's, early sobriety stories or whatever, just and everyone I've heard saying, I don't know who you are, but help me now because I haven't done it so well on my own, And every time I've heard, I have my own stories too, right? Every time we've done that, it's been successful. And then I turn around and notice how often there's something else in here that keeps saying, but I could do this one on my own. And I'm realizing in 2026, anyway, if God could take care of the big problems for me, then God could take care of the mosquitoes too, and why not? Hey, Elka.
Yes, I just wanted to say there have been times in my life when I have been down and depressed and crying, and I didn't even pray to him, and he turned up to just, it just made me feel better. Nothing changed, but he turned up, and I felt better the next day with the situation being exactly what it was the day before. The divine just turns up even without prayer. You just have to be, I don't know, for me, I just had to be down and depressed and crying and genuinely in humility, and he would turn up without any prayers. So that's all I have to say. He's so kind.
It's interesting this, yeah. Oh, May, was that you? Did I hear May? Or did I make that up?
I think that sometimes we don't even realize that we are praying. I think that there are times in our systems and in our being where perhaps that divine self enters into prayer for us when we cannot, from the personality. And from that idea, because the divine is always present, there is no secret. And where we think we're coming across as this big, strong individual who got it all together, that sometimes within in that divine self is please bring something to help this person to wake up or to see the truth. And we don't have to say them out loud. I call it in the secret of the heart that some prayers are stated.
All right, May, I'm going to give you another opportunity to share your voice.
I didn't unmute originally, but it's nice to be here with you guys. Yeah, I think it is just this recognition that it is always present, even when we don't realize it, which is really trippy, and it's very like new to my understanding of the world, like in the past couple like months. But every time that I like there's no doubt at this point now. There's no doubt. Like it's all connected. And yeah, it's wonderful to study with the guides. I'm eternally grateful that they share their wisdom with us. Thank you.
That points to what came up while I was listening to everyone was Michael Singer's teachings, which essentially is, it's always here. We just don't see it when the ego is screaming or loud or in charge, and when the small self has exhausted its attempts to control whatever's going on, it just stops for a while. And when it stops, the truth becomes the screen of awareness, which I think is what I heard. And with that, Patricia, you ready to be on, if that works?
Yes, it does. I'm a little lost. Where are we? What's the paragraph?
Intercession from the high to the low.
Wait a minute. The agreement. Okay. Got it, because I triple underlined. Thy will be done. We are one. Let this be done in the highest way. Yes, okay. Intercession from the high to the low is always present in love. When we teach you in the upper room, in fact, we lower our vibration to work through the man before you. And while he may hold us, we are far too vast to be limited by form. Imagine a thimble poured through Paul. Of the vastness of spirit. That's beautiful. I would like to read that again. Imagine a thimble poured through Paul. Of the vastness of spirit. The thimbleful holds the magnitude of the whole, and you are the recipient of that. But the fullness of God cannot be embodied in fullness. And we speak in the fullness and the glory of God. As we were, one of the things that as we've been reading through this, it's like one of the things I realize is when I feel the vibration of what I refer to as the Holy Spirit in my heart, it's like this vibration starts here and then radiates throughout my whole being, my whole body, like it's doing right now. It's sort of a Kundalini rush. And it's like when I live in the world of, I don't know, it's the right now. If I'm in the now, in that world of I don't know, that's where I feel that fullness that has no words. And it doesn't need any words. It's just full. It's the only word that comes to mind. And it's beautiful. And it's peaceful. And it's gentle. I feel the gentleness and the acceptance. Trying to think if there's any other images or words that come to mind. It's vast, incomprehensible, and sunny and smiley. Thank you.
Yeah. This paragraph brought the quote. I don't know whose quote it is. Somebody might know. A drop in the ocean in the drop.
Rupert Spira uses that image quite a bit. And I think he said it was might be from Rumi, as I recall. Might be.
It's almost like in the I don't know, it becomes the capital K knowing. But that like, because I know that feeling too. It's a surge. It's an absolute surge. And it's like nothing I've ever experienced. I felt it so much yesterday. I was overwhelmed by it. And it fluctuates too. But I feel like it'd be cool to get to a point where it just is it's constant. I don't know.
It's forever there.
Yeah, our divine self is always operating, and it's the coming in. It's the continuation of the coming into the capital K, knowing, which it doesn't happen. Yeah, it's at the right amounts necessary, or however the guides say it, or Paul, one of them's the perfect amounts at the right times.
Do you want to take on the next paragraph, Patricia? Or Rick, who had invited either? Oh, looks like Rick is pointing at Patricia.
Okay. Rick, I'll take on the next paragraph. Now, each thing you see before you has been made into form. Once ether, even the sky. Once an idea, born in need, born in imagination, born in agreement to what is. Everything seen may now be reseen, but from the upper room, from another perspective. What is seen is actually restored to a level of tone that expresses with less density. And you begin to operate in a small way through the memory of the species that could think things into being. So it is what it is. Thinks of being into species, whether it's the sky or the human condition or the clouds. It all is. It all is in the what is, if that makes any sense. The paragraph before, and we speak in the fullness and the glory of God. And it's like the egoic mind can't think things into being. It may be a wish, But for me, it's like letting go and going, this is my wish. I wish it were different. And the reality is, it is what it is. And my favorite phrase is, and I don't know. Wait and see. See it unfold.
And like he said before, if when we start asking for things, we assume that the divine doesn't know anything or knows, or we know better than the divine what we need.
Right.
He said that somewhere.
It's
That's a
like
big,
get out of the way.
it's a big Joel Goldsmith teaching. He says, "What are you doing? Using God as a waiter?"
It also seems in the re-seeing of what was always there that it somehow creates an ability or an energy of detachment from it, because it's releasing that whole whatever comes with the story that one may attach to what one decides to call something. And so when I think of that, to me, that's the density, that attachment. That's a level of density there that seems to start to shift in the re-seeing.
Somehow that phrase, everything seen may now be re-seen. I just imagine, wow, that goes from ether to form to ether to form. It's almost like a fluctuating, it's all one. And it's just constantly there, now. Somehow. And I think of Pat's conversation with her friend in Trump. I have a son, and we have conversations that we don't have about Trump, and yet we've had. So it's that ether, it's that when I just look in the direction of love, it really doesn't matter. When I look in the direction from my ego, it matters. I want to think, well, wait a minute, I don't understand. He doesn't understand. It's so easy because he's just such a loving person. I just rather see in that see. Anyway, and that's why I love that there are no secrets, Lonnie. I just love that because I've always loved to have secrets, but really to be found out and accepted, it feels wonderful.
I must have said 1,000,000 times in these last 3 days to this person, so who you keeping it a secret from? And who you trying to convince?
I found you. No, you found me. Who's it now? Who's it? That playful spirit is always there.
All right, guys. 75 minutes we've been hanging together. 74 and a half, give or take, or a little bit longer if you came in early. I love us so much.
Yeah, I love appreciating everybody and you in
Look at the
particular.
pub. Is that Traveler?
No, this is Lilo, who was blind and now sees because John brought her some new cataract lenses.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she had a
I
cataract.
was like, it didn't look like Traveler, and so I got confused. You have cataract surgery. I didn't know they did that on dogs.
They do, yeah.
Oh, hi, sweetie. All right, let me stop the recording. I love us so much. There you go.
This was really divine timing because it's time for me to go and do my